Alright, so a lot of you seemed really interested in that hardwood cutting video that I did not too long ago about the green giants. Now, I thought maybe some of you guys want to see an update on how I pot all these up from last year's cuttings. So here they are. Let's get them out there and get these beauties potted up. Look at these. We got a big pile of these guys just ready to go. Isn't that cool? Look at all those roots down in there. All right, this is the hard part. We got to get these guys out. They're hardy. Don't worry about it. We got this. Ah, there it is. Big pile of green giant Arborvitae and all their roots. They're already starting to grow down in there. Check that out. I'm going to tear all these apart and get them potted up. Quick, here's something I want to show you guys because I had this question myself a couple of years ago, and I'm sure some of you have it too. But what size cuttings do you take? Do you take them from the tips of branches on these, or do you take them from down further on older growth that's hard and sturdy and thicker? Well, here you go. So this one right here was a younger branch, and you can see right now it's kind of turned brown a little bit along the stem and hardened off, and that's pretty normal for these guys going through a winter. But you can see how young and new that little cutting was, and look at all those roots. So there's one example, but here was a big fat thick stalk that was from an older chunk of wood further down on the branch. I did a bunch like this just so I could see which rooted better. Well, these guys, and this case goes throughout that pile over there, these guys, the younger ones, obviously rooted much better, but these guys rooted too, real well, no problem at all. People ask me, why do you leave your cuttings in the tote all summer long after they root? Like that video I just took with all those cuttings, I think I posted it a week ago. I'm just gonna leave those in there. And the reason is because they've got all summer to grow strong roots. And then when winter hits, those roots go dormant and they get really hard and gnarly and tough. And you can really rip these things apart without any worry at all. I'm getting a lot of questions right now about what I use as a fertilizer for my outdoor plants. Because people watched that fertilizer video that we did a couple weeks ago, they're thinking maybe he just fertilizes with that liquid fertilizer, but that's not the case. I use a commercial slow release fertilizer, and this is, the brand name is Apex. It's a cool weather fertilizer. It's formulated for rhododendrons and other acid loving plants, but I use them on everything around here and it works great. I couldn't imagine trying to mix up, I don't even know how many gallons of fertilizer it would take on a weekly basis if I use liquid fertilizer, and it would be more expensive than I could possibly imagine. So slow release granular fertilizer that's, you know, a well formulated one that's got all the trace elements in it, that's what you want to do for your outdoor landscape plants. If you're curious about a video on this in more detail, I've got a link in the description down below to a video I made a couple of years about it. Final thing I do here is use a pre-emergent like preen or casseron, and what that does is it just prevents weed seeds from coming up through the pots, because If you've ever run a nursery, you've ever had a lot of plants in pots, then you know that's a big problem every year. So I use a little bit of this preen. I think this one is a casseron, but it doesn't matter. Any pre-emergent, and I just grab it like this with my gloved hand and just kind of lightly sprinkle it over everything. Doesn't hurt the plants at all, and you want to read the label and make sure it's not going to hurt your specific plants. But you wouldn't ever want to use this where you're planting seeds that you want to germinate. You would never use them on your Japanese maple seeds. Now we've got it all done. That's the full progression. So I want to make one more point about these guys. As I was going through and potting more, I showed you that thick stalk one where it was a little bit older wood. I think that's the one right down in there. Well, I found some more that were really thick and chunky that had just as big of roots, or if not bigger, than the small little cuttings. So anyway, I don't think it really matters with these green giants, but that is the way that you propagate them. These guys will be really good and green and fill in and block all those pots down in there in just 1 year. You guys want to go check out the other ones again? Let's go see what they're going to look like. So this is exactly a year later. I did the same exact thing with these guys that I did with the ones over there just last year, and here they are. And you can see the new growth. It's warming up in here, and we're starting to get some, it's a little bit lighter, you can kind of tell, a little lime green on there. And these guys are probably going to double in size in here when I put plenty of water to them through the summer, and then we can either up pot them or plant them out on the landscape. Of course, I'm probably going to plant them out, and then that's what we did before. Now, I showed you in this last video here, when the top of this starts drying out, I start thinking about watering. Now I know it looks a little bit dry, but look, there's still plenty of moisture down below here. This is a little dry, but if you dig down in there, you can see there's moisture. Everything's doing just fine, but I probably will fan over it with a little bit of water just to make sure that top stays moist in there. Now you wouldn't have to worry so much about this if you had holes on the bottom, but I don't have holes on the bottom. Now, you do want to make sure though that if you do have holes on the bottom, you're not over watering, because you don't want to just keep this constantly waterlogged. I like it to dry a little bit in between. It encourages those plants, those little cuttings, to start wanting to form roots, to want to seek out water. So there it is, guys, the full progression, part 2. We got the new cuttings. This is the last year's that were potted up, so these cuttings were taken 2 years ago, and then we've got the final ones down here that you just saw. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that little update. Now, I want to talk about something for a sec. A lot of people on here are newcomers to the channel, and I'm getting a lot of questions about how do I do this with my rhododendron propagation or my hardwood propagation, or, you know, I'm getting really in-depth questions, and it's really hard to answer every single one of them individually. If you want, just go onto YouTube, type my name, the name of this channel, and then any question you have. I don't have every video out there, but I got a lot of them if you have questions about landscape plants. So you might find something in there you're looking for. If not, and you're still interested in going deeper into this stuff and what I do around here, especially when it comes to rhododendron propagation or semi-hardwood propagation, heck, you can propagate anything with this frame, then go check out my website, because I've got over 6 hours of video about everything I do around here. I'll put a link in the description below and probably up in the corner here or wherever that ends up being. The cost is small. You can learn it all. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.